Guys, so today I'm going to show you how I make my salmon on the stovetop. My husband and I both love this salmon. So the first thing I've done is I've rinsed my salmon off because you want to make sure that your pink side doesn't have any scales left over on it, which has happened. You're also going to need a pair of tongs, and these are going to help you out a lot. I only use 2 seasonings for my salmon. I use ground pepper and Goya adobo. And then you're going to need extra virgin olive oil to go ahead and cook your salmon. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the lovely little stove with my pan, and I'm going to add some oil in. Now I don't measure how much oil I add. It's just kind of how much I think I need. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil, and I'm going to turn my stove on, and I'm going to turn it on medium heat because you don't want to burn your salmon, which I kind of did a little bit here, but it still tasted amazing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to let my oil heat up, and you want to make sure that you keep your oil as much towards the center of the pan as you can because that's where the salmon is going to sit, but you also want to make sure that your pan is nice and coated. I do end up adding more oil to my pan because I didn't feel like that was enough, so I do add a little bit of more oil, and then I go ahead and I let that heat up more before I add my salmon to my pan because I want to make sure that it's nice and hot and ready, and it should be sizzling when you add that salmon. That's how you know. So you can see here I'm putting the salmon skin side down, and this is where you hear that lovely sizzle that sounds so amazing. So you're supposed to cook your salmon skin side down, and I only put the seasoning on the pink side because I don't want to over season. And I start with ground pepper, and we add a lot of ground pepper to our salmon. We just love the ground pepper. So I'm going to add all my ground pepper to my salmon, and like I said, I'm only doing this on the pink side. If you want, you can season both sides, but I only season one side of my salmon. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use that Goya adobo seasoning that we absolutely love, and we literally only use it for our salmon. It's just something about it with salmon. I don't know. It just tastes amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to my salmon. You can see it kind of overloads it when I first start doing it. So I'm going to use my tongs to go ahead and spread that seasoning out because I don't want one piece of my salmon to be over seasoned compared to the rest of my salmon. So once I think that's ready, I'm just going to let my salmon sit there for 4 to 5 minutes. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to turn it until that 4 to 5 minutes is done. You can see on the sides that the sides are starting to turn a different color, which is very good. You want to make sure that the sides of your salmon are turning a white color. That's how you know that it is cooking properly, and that's definitely what you want to see. So once the 4 to 5 minutes is up, I'm just going to flip that salmon right over, and you can see that that skin side is super crispy, and that's what you want. It's going to make it so easier to peel that skin off. So I'm just going to go ahead and start peeling that skin off, and I'm going to use a fork to help me with this process. I just find it works so much easier when I have a fork to help me with it. So you can see there's still a little bit of gray and white from the skin. So I'm just going to use my tongs to very lightly scrape that side of the salmon so that I get all of that extra off because you don't want any of that on your salmon. So you can see I'm lightly scraping that off and peeling some of that extraness back. And again, we are going to let our salmon sit on this side for another 4 to 5 minutes. Now, as you just saw, I do like to move the oil a little bit to the center of my pan so that I can make sure that my salmon is getting all of the oil that it needs. And once we are done with the 4 to 5 minutes on this side, I'm going to flip that right back over. Okay, so you can see here I'm flipping it over, and you can see how that one side has that nice golden look to it, which is really good, and it's cooked all of that seasoning in, which is really nice. So I'm going to let it sit on that side. Even though we've already cooked it, I like to have that crispiness to it. So I'm gonna let it sit on that side for another about 2 to 3 minutes. That way that other side gets nice and crispy, and then you'll see me flip it over again to the other side for about another minute. Like I said, I just like for my salmon to be crispy on the outside, and then it's so nice and moist and juicy on the inside. Oh, it's making my mouth water just thinking about it. My salmon, we both love it. It's just amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna slow this down a little bit, but you can see here that I flip it back over to the other side, and look at how crispy that side is. It just looks awesome. Now the side that has a seasoning on it is the side that got a little on the burnt side, but it still came out really good, really yummy, really tasty. Like I said, I absolutely love this salmon. My husband loves it. And I wanted to share with you guys how you can cook your salmon on the stove, because I know I had to look through a ton of videos to try to find one that would work for us that didn't exactly have 6 million seasonings, which the seasoning part I actually just kind of experimented with, found out my husband liked it, and voila, we've just been using that seasoning ever since. So I flip it back over one last time, and this is at the point where I turn my stove off, and I just kind of let it sit there and finish sizzling up on that side. And your salmon is basically ready to eat at this point, and it should be like very easy to fall apart. Now you can see mine isn't really that easy to fall apart, but that's only because of the fact that I burned it just a little, but it was still amazing. Like I keep saying, I just can't get over how great I love salmon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see more of my fitness videos. Make sure to follow me on all of my social medias so you'll see the meals that I'm cooking. And I hope you all have a wonderful day and enjoy your salmon.